This conference will now be recorded.
If he doesn't do the picture part.
No photos. I gotta shut up.
I got 6 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order. We'll start with the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I just need approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Passes 5-0-0. Accounts payable, Fred.
You review the accounts payable, you're on there. Oh, well, here they are.
Bob, do you want to take accounts payable quick?
Here, just page 2 and look at them, Fred. Yeah, so.
I would just highlight a couple of them. One was for the new flooring, for $32,621.40. We had cameras that we approved, for $20,207.30. We also, another one was for Safe Built for 2 months for fees, $14,788.66. And the other one to note would be the fire board, for state, or for fire dues of $88,634.14. I believe everything else was pretty normal. We also did have that new pump for the sewer for $9,858.86, which I think was discussed last meeting or last month. I would make a motion to approve the accounts payable for $195,515.28.
I'll second that.
Any further discussions? I'm sorry to put you on the spot. I thought maybe you had talked about that when.
It's my fault.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Passes 5-0-0. Thanks, Bob. Public comments. Individuals, we'll open the public comment portion. Individuals may address the city council about any item of concern. Speakers must state their name and limit their remarks to 5 minutes. Greg?
Hey, my name is Greg Moore. I live here in Zumbrota. I just wanted to bring up an idea and a kind of a concern that me and a handful of other people have had, looking at a intersection on West Avenue and Fifth Street. I gave you a little packet there. If you want to just kind of follow along as I kind of go through this, I'll go through it real quick. But in general, as we all know, cars and pedestrians don't work out very well sometimes. And looking at around school, between 7 and 8 a.m. and 3 to 4 p.m., crossing is obviously the most dangerous. And if you look at through some of the statistics lately too, we're seeing 39% of high school students are reporting texting and emailing while driving in the past month. They do it a lot right after school too. Their first kind of time of independence, they're getting in their car and they're driving along. But it's not just the drivers that are having issues with paying attention to. If you look at page 3 there, 1 in 4 high school students were observed to be distracted walkers. 1 in 6 middle schoolers were observed to be distracted walkers. 80% of all students were observed crossing the street in an unsafe manner. So it's just kind of this recipe for disaster. And I'm looking at, the school boundaries and the student crosswalks that are around the area right now. I think the school boundary, I don't know what the specifics are for Zumbrota, but in general, it looks like it's about 200 feet. And then, we reduce speed limits and so forth around it. But on Fifth Street there is no school speed limit area, and it's not designated as a specific school route. So if you kind of move on to kind of those pictures there, that West Avenue and Fifth Street, kind of looking east from West Fifth Street, what you'll notice, and I didn't really appreciate this till I kind of started looking into this more, is that the street actually widens out right there. So, and if you're thinking of your peripheral driving down that road, now there's this bigger area. And I mean, even on this picture, if you're going to study it, it's kind of hard to tell if there's even a pedestrian standing there next to where that Jimmy's Pizza used to be. So it's not a great spot. There's not a lot of visibility for students that are crossing there. There's a handful of students that do cross for dance. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but it was averaged around maybe up to 100 per week that are traveling just for dance. I know that there's a lot of other people that just come home that way too. So just kind of sitting there and watching a few times. I've seen a handful of times that cars are speeding a little too fast down there. Kids are really just not watching very well, and it scares me and kind of looking at what can be done about it. So I know this was brought up in the past. I don't remember how long ago it was, but I guess, the comment was, why don't they cross at one of the crosswalks? And if you look at kind of the new school design where the buses are and stuff now, the kids are getting out in the back of the school. They used to get out in front of the school. So it used to be kind of easier to just kind of walk along that Mill Street, and you could cross the 5th Street there where there is a crosswalk and stop signs. But now that the kids are getting out at the bus stop in the back, the straight kind of easy pathway is right down the West Avenue. So if kids were told that they can't go that way anymore and they need to cross at a crosswalk, looking at this first picture, it add kind of 4 to 5 minutes of time to have to go all the way up to the front of the school. There's another alternative where they could cut through that new parking lot, but then it's kind of a recipe for disaster because the kids are walking through a parking lot with a bunch of kids too. So that didn't seem very good. If they kind of have to go up to Main Street, that's an extra 600 feet, another 3 minutes of time. If they go down towards the crosswalk by the nursing home, that's another 4 to 5 minutes of time too. So, if it's me and it's a day like this, windy and cold, I'm not going to walk an extra 4 or 5 minutes outside. I'm going to want to just get across the street. And I think a lot of kids are probably going to do the same thing regardless of what you tell them to do. So, the current path is more or less they get off the bus, they go across the street there on West Ave, and they walk. It's a straight shot over to the dance studio. And I think, in terms of safety, the desired path that these kids are taking kind of needs to be the safest path that we can make for them. So I think there's a lot of other people that kind of, there was a petition I kind of started just to kind of show that it's not just me that's kind of thinking about this too. And I think we've had over 170 people kind of say the same thing of, hey, this is something to at least do a study on, what can be done about it. And I just wanted to bring it to you guys to see, is there a way to widen that street a little bit there to make it more apparent like you guys did on Mill Street in front of the school, or can there be, flashing crosswalk things there, or just something there to kind of just slow the traffic down or make it more visible for students walking across. So that's all I got.
One question I have for you, Greg, quick. On page 12, you have a desired path needs to be safest path. I'm just trying to figure out if that's somewhere, or is that just kind of an illustration?
No, it's just a path that, you can design things and make people kind of, want them to go a certain way, but people are going to take the path of least resistance. And it's just a picture of, people cutting through grass instead of taking the longer sidewalk. And I think when you talk about, finding a crosswalk, people aren't going to spend the extra 4 or 5 minutes to go all the way down the crosswalk. They're going to cross the street where they can.
Brian made me aware of this Tuesday, that you had talked to Monday or Tuesday you had called.
Yeah.
So we have done some research. I think Fred talked to the engineer a little bit about that topic. Am I correct on that, Fred? A little bit on that. I think we definitely need to do some studies, some research. I know there's some standards that we got to do on that. My opinion, I think stop signs, or a 4-way stop sign, just is not practical or good because it's so close to Main Street, but I definitely agree. I know we had one of our officers sitting on there Wednesday, I think, Tony too, sat out there, I was aware of it, said, hey, will you go sit here just to see what you observe? So we've kind of been doing some activity on that research. I just think we got to talk to the engineer a little bit more, and there's some studies and some criteria to what takes. So I do agree that I hate going by the dance studio, even at 5:30 when I pick up the kids, because there's kids running everywhere and the parents are dropping them. So I agree that we definitely need to look at it. I guess that's my input on that, and I think that's probably what I would like to do is direct the city staff to do more research, if it's the engineer, if it's Public Works, if it's Brian, or all the above, to do that. So that's my opinion on that. I don't know what other councils, Fred, I think, would talk a little more on that.
one that we do involve public works and school.
Yeah, I can give you a few things that we do know as of right now, because we did do a little bit of work on it. I mentioned it to our city engineer, and Fred and I sat with him today. But what we do know is, because we went and looked at the number of kids, Tony Brecht helped us with that. I believe SRO Tiedemann called up the dance studio. So Mondays, they have approximately 24 in dance. Tuesdays, approximately 27. And Wednesdays, approximately 10 to 15 total that would be coming from school and going there. Now, very few of those walk. Not to say it's not a dangerous intersection. I walk that when we go on a walk in the evenings in the summer, every night I walk that, and you're right. So the 3 standards, I won't go into those details, a bunch of acronyms, but we did look at those a little bit today as well. And stop signs they won't meet the requirements of those standards, which we should follow when we do that. However, some sort of a crosswalk configuration with a painted crosswalk, a couple of signs. What type of signs is another thing? Rapid flashing beacons are $50,000 to $60,000, which is a consideration. They're just the normal signs that we could put there. So there's a number of ways to look at it. We would meet the criteria for doing something like that, the way it looks right now. We've gotten into it a little bit, but definitely need to look at it some more and make some proposals if the council wishes to see some things on. Okay, these are some options. Bump outs are another tough one. That's got to meet certain criteria for number of cars and all that good stuff too. So, it's bump outs they narrow the roadway, so it's less distance across. They slow traffic down. They're a real pain for plowing. But when we're talking pedestrian safety, it's something we need to look at as well. So at council's direction, if you want us to pursue looking at more of a study on that and what can be done there, we're certainly willing. Keep going with that.
I think that would be good.
So I think that'll be the recommendation, just to have city staff,
Develop a little bit more and bring something back. Okay,
go from there.
you bet.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Greg.
Any more public comments? I will close the public comment portion and we'll run to consent agenda. All items listed in the consent agenda is considered routine by city council and will approve by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless council member requests, in which the case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and be considered in its normal sequence of an agenda. And the only thing we have is the council meeting minutes from January 23rd.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Let's jump down to new business 8A Resolution 2025-06, recognizing donations of the New Zumbrota Pool fundraising campaign. Brian?
Yes, I've been working with our city attorney, Mike Flaherty, on wording for this. We have to accept by resolution all of the donations. And starting with the 2024 donations. So this is a list of names and amounts donated in 2024 that we have. This is money that came in, actual money. It's in an account, a separate account. We will be sending letters to each one of these individuals and businesses as well, stating that we've received and accepted the dollars for the specific purpose, and it'll be held in a separate account until we build the pool. This does not include those that purchase bricks yet. We'll do one for that. Still working on the wording. That's a little bit different than this one. Or the pledges. As the pledges come in, we'll do resolutions. And from here on out, we will do a resolution on each individual big, $50,000 donation or the big ones. We'll do separate resolutions as they come in. So you'll start seeing these probably, well, hopefully at each council meeting. Hopefully we'll have a bunch of those big ones to accept. But this is the start. I'm just looking for approval.
I'll make a motion.
Any further discussions? All in favor? What?
Roll call.
Oh, yeah. God, good job, Sarah. I mean, Bob. Bob? Bob?
Aye.
Joan?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Fred?
Aye.
And I passes 5-0. Good catch. Let's jump to reports. Brian?
Yeah, sanitary district, we are starting to schedule meetings with bonding committee members, Senate bonding committee members. But we'll start that next week, heading up to the Capitol. I think we've got, I think one next week and one the week after so far, but they tend to fill in, so we have, 3 or 4 every day, or not every day we're up there, once a week typically, maybe twice a week, depending on when we can get into those offices, so. Continue to design on that. We're just need to work with the legislature to get more funding and keep it moving. We have a pool committee meeting again Monday here at City Hall at 6 p.m. We've raised just over $506,000. Now that includes the bricks and the pledges. So that's all total. And that's where we're at with those things. I don't think I have anything else.
Perfect. You want to wait for a little? Okay. Curtis?
Nothing tonight.
Tony?
The police department remodel's underway. We've got the new flooring, looks like about 50% or better complete, as well as some of the painting. The hope is that it'll be wrapped up tomorrow. Then we'll move all our stuff back in with the help of the moving company and get it set back up so we can open for business Monday.
Perfect.
I'm guessing the furniture movers will be back about noon or 1 tomorrow. Take them an hour and a half, and then you can
Reset everything.
put everything back.
And hopefully it fires up. Perfect.
Hopefully all the technology fires up, yes.
Thanks, guys.
Otherwise, we've had our hostile event response training in Goodhue, which was a joint training with Southeast Minnesota agencies that went well. A lot of other training coming up for folks this month as well. We expect to have Officer Curtis on leave, but we've got his shifts taken care of between myself and a couple of our part-timers. So we'll be at strength. We will be having to go down with any staff.
Perfect. Thanks, Tony. Thanks, Curtis. Kimberly?
Nothing tonight.
Mike?
I'll just piggyback a little bit on Brian with the sanitary district. They got the WSN is working on the webpage. They've got that finalized.
Oh, yes.
That's, and it's a WSN and their staff would put that together. It's really user friendly from what we saw, and I think there'll be more information coming out to you guys on that. I'm putting together quotes now for hammering the entire system, sewer system in town. Last time that was done was 2004. So it gets to be a while. They recommend whatever 10 years hammering that. And we cleaned some of the ponds out around town. We rented a skid loader and a forestry area. They've gotten way out of hand. And that's just part of it. We're going to have some dredging of those ponds. We have 2 coming up. That's all I have.
I have 2 things. What's WSN?
Princess.
Smith Nolting, they're the engineer, Pine
They're
Island
an
engineer.
engineer with sanitary district, along with, that's Pine Island's engineer, and then Goodhue has their engineer too. So they're
Okay.
all-
Perfect. And the dredging, you guys can do it yourself, or is that something we got to hire out?
Probably a long stick, backhoe, for excavator,
Schumacher's probably?
truck.
Perfect. Okay. Thanks, Mike.
Are
all these ponds our responsibility?
No,
There's some that are. And then the other ones that aren't our responsibility, do they just automatically clean them, or do we got?
we have to start talking.
Perfect. Thanks, Mike. I just have one quick thing. First of all, I want to thank Brian Hagen and Elizabeth, city administrator from Pine Island, and then Bob and I and Kim and Brian. We did interviews today on the deputy city administrator. We had 12 applications. We were going to interview 6, and 4 of them accepted the interviews. So we interviewed those today. And we're calling back two, Miles Robb, he's an administrative intern in Shakopee currently. And then Renee Weil, she's a deputy clerk was a deputy clerk in Orinoco, now in Yoda. So we're doing a second interview with those on Tuesday because we have two great candidates there. So we just do a little more casual interview and just ask a couple questions to see if we can make a decision. So it was a long day, and I want to thank the two outsiders that came and helped that with Brian Hogg and Elizabeth. That's all I got. Bob?
Nothing tonight.
Joan?
Nothing in it?
Kevin?
Just an update on the ambulance. The receptor of that grant money for 165, it hadn't been delegated yet, but it's usually a portion can go to things like equipment, especially a new rig. In our case, our area ambulance is very financially responsible. They've already got their money put aside for that, so the use of it is going to go towards the payroll. It can be applied to that instead. So just applaud the ambulance for getting the grant and as well as already being fiscally conservative as it is. So
Perfect. Is that it, Kevin?
that's it.
Thank you. Fred?
Nothing.
Meeting adjourned. Is that the fastest one? Maybe the fastest one. Close. Pretty close.
I know.